Oh, we're live.
We're here. We're on.
We're here, and I am so excited to be here on behalf of A Mighty Blaze, reading with Robin here with my friend. Thank goodness, my friend Emily Liebert. When things go awry, it's always great to have your friends be the ones that are
Definitely.
got to have your friends. And thank you to Jenna for getting us on here on A Mighty Blaze. It's Pub Day Tuesday. Perfectly Famous came out last Tuesday, but as everybody knows, everything changed, and Emily and I did the pivot, and we said we'll do June 9th, but this officially came out June 2nd. It is Emily Liebert's 7th novel. Let me give you a bit of an intro, as we do so kindly here on Emily Liebert, I'm just reading your book, is the author of 7 books and has been featured on the Today Show and in publications such as the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Ladies Home Journal, People, the Washington Post, and many others, including the Westport magazine. She lives with her husband and 2 sons in Connecticut. I have been a fan since the day we met. I believe we met at You Knew Me When, so I did.
First novel.
That was the first novel, and then and through all of them, When We Fall, the secrets we keep. So I'm remembering them as I'm speaking. Some Women, Pretty Revenge came out last year. Perfectly Famous is out this year. So much buzz. So excited for you. You know I'm a fan. And again, welcome to A Mighty Blaze. Emily Liebert. Visit her at emilyliebert.com and follow her everywhere. You are an example of how to be on social media.
Thank you. That's so nice. I always feel like I'm getting it wrong.
No, it's authentic. You know, it's excited. It's eye-catching. There's enthusiasm, and it's got a great pace. Similarly to your novels. So you're a lot of fun. You're a lot of fun to follow.
Oh, that's so nice. I appreciate that. I am authentic. This is no makeup. Zero.
Wait, come closer. Wow. Well, you are so young and beautiful.
No makeup, Robin.
Oh my God. And this is like, I've been doing my own home color, so I have to space it out. And I've been invited back to the salon. I'm just not there yet. And so I'm looking like, it's horrible because I'm always like looking at myself, and we are too hard on ourselves, I know, but you are lovely. And the Wacol connection, your partnership with them, that was quite something. How did that go? And just you take over. Go talk. I'm going to listen.
Yeah. So with each of my books, I think, as you know, I partner with a brand. So I've done things like nail polishes named after my characters, lip glosses. And for this book, Wacol approached me and they said, we're looking to work with an influencer. And I was like, would you like me to recommend someone? And they were like, no, you're the influencer. And I was like, oh, okay. And we decided to launch a campaign called The Perfect Fit, which is your perfect fit bra or undergarments and your perfect fit book.
Yep.
And in that case, it would be Perfectly Famous. I have it upside down. This is the second time I've done that. Perfectly Famous. And so we launched this campaign. I did a bunch of vignettes for them. And one was actually the most recent one, if you go on my social media, was of me in my bra and underwear standing on my porch with no makeup and just woken up.
I loved it. I thought, that was like, what, 2 weeks ago? Maybe I'm like, wait, did I miss something? I saw that one. That was amazing.
And that was a few weeks ago. And, just for the world to see, there I was. Brown underwear, no makeup.
Awesome. And what was the reaction? I'm sure it was
people were so supportive and so great about it. And, of course, as you said, you always want to nitpick every little thing about yourself. But listen, I wouldn't have done it when I was 20 something years old. So now that I'm solidly 44, I guess I don't care as much about what people say or think.
Well, it was an awesome campaign. The shots were beautiful and authentic.
Thank you.
And I think, and that's what people connect to. But just what you said, I mean, wouldn't it be great? I mean, there's nothing like life and experience. It would be great to have this knowledge in that sense, but maybe then that's not what the 20s is about.
Right.
It just isn't. And so I think people are getting it, younger and younger and owning things that maybe at 20 I wouldn't have been comfortable with, but the new
Right.
20 or the new 30 or the new 40 or whatever. But it's really, and I think at this time when we've had more time to reflect in general, people are sort of owning things differently. So
Yeah.
well timed. And, you know, your books, I don't know if it's, I know it is a compliment, but to say your books just keep getting better and better. And, but that isn't to say they weren't always great. And
No, I take that as a compliment. Thank you.
Don't you? Because
I hope they're getting better and better. I mean, it's like with any job that you do, you hope you get better and better at it.
and I've loved them since the first time I picked them up. And there was something about this one that, well, we'll talk about the storyline, and maybe that was so gripping. But I remember, you know, I started radio 18 years ago, and at different points in doing that, people would be like, "Oh my God, the show's so much better," or like you're really hitting your stride. And of course, you know, being the kind of person, I take it way differently now. But then I was like, "Well, which show do you mean? Like, what are you talking about?"
Right.
Yeah, be specific so that can be helpful, you know. But it's but you do, I remember Jennifer Weiner talking about that with one of her books. And of course you always want to be reaching for something, challenging yourself.
Yeah.
You know, that's so it's meant with the utmost, obviously, respect and admiration. But the book starts off with a famous novelist in Connecticut with Ward, with a daughter where there's, I mean, this is not a spoiler, she's killed. So was this like a, what could be the most awful? Like, was this like a, what would keep me up at night? What's the worst possible thing I could do to a famous author? I mean, where was the nugget for this one?
Yeah, you know, I really wanted to have two strong women. I always love writing about strong women. And I wanted them each to have a big obstacle in their life that they were having to overcome or a void they were looking to fill. So obviously, it is a pretty big obstacle when your teenage daughter is abducted and killed. And she is a very, very famous, think, you know, Jackie Collins level crime novelist.
Was there anybody specific or just like that?
No, there wasn't anyone specific. I just knew I wanted her to be so big that it justified the anxiety that she has about interacting with people and being in crowds of her fans. She loves interacting with her fans from the safety of behind her computer, but you know, this is book number 13 for Ward de Fleur, and she is, as always, you know, a little anxious about getting out there and doing her book tour. And the work, she finds out the worst possible thing she could during her first stop on her book tour, which is that, as we said, her teenage daughter has been abducted and killed. And there is a second woman, of course, Bree Bennett.
I love Bree.
Who is a big Ward de Fleur fan and also has a void to fill, an obstacle to overcome, one that's not as large, which is that she's recently undergone a divorce and feels like she's no longer needed by her teenage daughter and her family, which is now no longer a family of three.
Right.
And she goes in pursuit of Ward to try to find her when she disappears after her daughter's abduction and murder. And in doing so, she entangles herself with the daughter's killer.
Da, 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 da.
Dun, dun, dun.
Great. I mean, so as you're playing with this and thinking about, because that's the thing about a psychological thriller, suspense, that whole just unputdownable genre of different ways that it can go, and staying ahead of your reader. And what's it like when you, and again, no spoilers here on A Mighty Blaze or Reading with Robin ever, when you got the twist or that, you know, how did you play with that, and how many, you know, what were the iterations, and what's that like, this is how it's going to go down? I can't imagine.
So for this book, I actually wrote a 30+ page outline because my last book, Pretty Revenge, I had not written an outline, which was a huge mistake. And so I went in the complete opposite direction, and I really laid everything out this time. So I knew where all of the twists and turns were coming in the story. I did end up moving one of the big twists up so that the action could sort of keep going and keep the momentum a little bit earlier in the book. The only thing that I changed was the ending, which is a huge twist. And I did that as I was writing it.
Oh, wow.
Which is new for me. And I think shocked me as much as I hope it'll shock other people.
Yes, I love that. And also that, that isn't the way you would normally come at a book. And so so is that the new go forward, always to do like a 30-page or whatever outline? Is that the new?
It definitely was the easiest book I've written because I had that outline. And I think I didn't need that as much when I was writing pure women's fiction, because there wasn't this, as you said, need to keep this fast-paced plot and make sure everything falls in the right place and the arcs and the twists and the turns. But I think mapping it out is so important. I know you are also speaking at Bell today, whose book Stranger in the Lake is out. And we were just talking about this.
No, as it turns out, it's the 15th. That's my day. We were supposed to do today, and then she was on A Mighty Blaze. I had notes. I was just on the phone with her publicist. It's so funny. And we were actually talking about how much we love you, because all of a sudden I said, I have to go. Emily Liebert on A Mighty Blaze. And she was like, I love Emily Liebert. It was Emmy from Simon & Schuster. Phrases. So Kimberly Bell is June 15th on Reading with Robin.
Got it.
That was my bad.
And we had spoken about this, just how you really need to lay everything out and be willing to move the pieces around if you have to while you're writing it.
Yeah, so for visual, do you do index cards? Do you do whiteboards? Do you do inspiration boards? Do you tag notes on your boys and let them run around the house and however they come back in order? That's the storyline. I mean, how do you do that?
Yes, I do that. That's exactly right. No, I don't do any of those things. I'm always sort of in awe of the people that have the Post-it notes and like move them around on a board. And I guess I'm not that organized, or it's too overwhelming for me. So I just have one document on the computer, which is the outline, and then separately notes to myself. So, it might say like this chapter needs to come sooner, fix that on Monday, or something like that. Or I might sometimes I'll start just writing a scene in my head, but I'm not in writing mode at that moment and I'm running out the door in 5 minutes. So I'll just jot it down quickly and send it to myself for later. But it all exists in one. I mean, I can cut and paste things in the document, but physically I'm not moving anything around.
I understand. I
aspire to that.
Yeah. It's funny. It's like whatever works. And as far as people who, it might seem like it's differently organized, because you're very organized. Clearly, what you get done is incredible.
I have a method to my madness.
I love the method. My method, you wouldn't want to see my method, is dizzying, but it works for me, and I like the idea of everything being in one space. So then you'd write a note to yourself and include it in the document somewhere, and then you would know to get back to it.
I need it all in one space.
Yeah, that totally makes sense, because then if you want to work on it, there it is. But I'm always fascinated by the different processes, and some books take a different process, and of course we've talked to Ellen Hildebrand about her longhand, and I think, how does she stick other notes in there then?
I think about that too. I don't know how she still writes everything longhand. That's unbelievable.
I know, and when she posts it, I love to look and go, what's that about? And it's just, but I always think of the add-ons, like you were saying, note to self, or what you want to change, and like how it physically could look, different colors. I don't know. It's really a peek into somebody's brain, and of how
it really is.
You figure that a brilliant mind. I guess maybe that's where the Post-it notes I think of of that movie. And you do dedicate this to the boys, which is so beautiful, for Jackson, Hugo. I love you more times infinity. And they're so adorable. I love seeing them on social media when you include them. And I can't believe how old they got.
I know.
How old are they? Like
almost 10 and almost 11.
Yeah, they were just 4 and 3.
I know, Robin. I know.
So I know, that's crazy. I'm like, they're little boy. They're like boy men. I don't know. Yeah, they're still babies. They're just still babies. And I'm chatting with Emily Liebert. Perfectly Famous is just out, and visit her at emilyliebert.com. Follow her on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, like her, love her, stalk her, and leave great reviews. And you also talked about proceeds. Talk about what you're doing for partial proceeds from the book.
So in light of all of the atrocities and injustices of the past few weeks and months. And specifically with the book coming out on Blackout Tuesday. I did black out my social media that day. And as you said, decided to reschedule all of my events for this week and next and moving forward. And then I thought, that's not enough. I need to put my money where my mouth is and really do something. So I announced today that I am working with Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights. The president of Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights is Carrie Kennedy, who's been a longtime close friend of mine. And I called her and I said, what are you doing to, address what's going on right now? And she had great answers, which I have put up on my social media. And I will be donating a portion of the sales from Perfectly Famous to RFK Human Rights. And, I just will be continuing to pursue this issue in every way I can. It's unthinkable.
It is unthinkable. And I remember your email from last week talking about it, and you were talking about sourcing out and doing some research and deciding where you want, because there's so much need and there's so much.
I didn't want to jump. I didn't want it to just be like, oh, here's someone of white privilege just jumping on a bandwagon and picking a charity. I wanted to listen. I wanted to learn. I wanted to do my research. RFK Human Rights was always in my mind. Right. But I needed to talk to Carrie and make sure that they were doing this specific work and that it wasn't just the money just wasn't being allocated to a catch-all human rights organization.
Well, that's with the kind of person you are. I mean, we've known each other for a long time. So I hadn't been up on today to know that, but I knew from your email that you were spending time researching. So I'm glad that to know what the answer is, and it's so meaningful. And it's become a really interesting juxtaposition of not appearing in one way and yet wanting to help. And it's like, what can, you because I've had this come up in conversations with friends who are like, what can I do and all this. And I look back to the event I did Sunday night with Black authors and publishing and that discussion, and Francesca Montplaisir said, educate yourself, Google it, don't come to me, right. You want to share the answers that but like people need to own, like looking into things, do some research. Right. And then,
don't go to your Black friends and ask them to educate you. Right. Don't post things that say all lives matter. That's not what's happening at this moment. Of course, all lives matter. Yes. No one's saying they don't, but right now, Black lives matter. And this is what's happening right now.
Yeah. And I, what, I'm very encouraged because I'm seeing a lot of action and not just words. The publishing industry yesterday also closed down to address very specific things that they would be doing going forward. And I saw a Book of the Month Club put out a whole, I'm following as much as I can because I want to know what's happening, and also trying to I don't know, reading is out the window, oddly enough.
Yeah.
But I was so glad to see because, numbers and percentages and all of these things, numbers don't lie.
That's right.
As my scale says, but they don't. So it's true. And so I am really heartened. It's like, it seems like finally there will be, change is always a process, but like, this isn't, anyway. So, pardon?
It has to happen.
Yeah. Yes. And you're right. Don't go just to.
So if you'd like to support the book and human rights at the same time and Black Lives Matter.
Perfectly Famous. It's what I would call a win-win-win. And for more information, go to emilyliebert.com. And I'm sure it's all, I haven't checked recently, but I'm sure it's all posted there and on your social.
Yes, it's on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. Feel free to share. Obviously, it would be wonderful.
Yes, please share. I think that's the thing. Like I always say too, like sharing how you share a book that you love and you can't wait to tell a friend to read this book. Add on the additional information about where partial proceeds are going and also why that's so meaningful. I'm really excited to hear that you picked that. There's so much great work being done and very specific. I know that whenever I select a cause for an event, I like to know, exactly what's happening. Yes, but it's not just, it's nice to write the check, but no, how is it helping people specifically now? What can I do that's meaningful, very, going to make an impact in some way?
Yes.
So yeah, so back to our show, including in our show, I'm watching the time also. And again, thank you very much, Jenna, who's behind the scenes, making sure we run here on
Thank
a
you,
Mighty.
Jenna.
So appreciative. I mean, there's nothing like being able to send a text and then like, boom, it's done. And a Mighty Blaze has been working together like that since the beginning. It's been, I think, 3
They've
months.
been amazing. I mean, talk about just pivoting immediately, just being so supportive of authors. I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
So grateful.
I know it's really incredible when I see the emails that are, I can't read them all. Everybody has just given so much time to amplify authors' books and all of these books that are coming out, trying to keep track of which ones are coming out, which dates are changed, and
Yeah.
giving as much attention. And readers are coming here to learn about the books, obviously, that are coming out, but also to really get a sense of what's happening beyond the books. So I'm really very proud of it. I'm happy to be a part of it and thrilled that people are helping when the technical call goes out. And there's Jenna. I know
I'm thankful for that too.
Can't see her, but she's now giggling to herself going, oh guys, stop it. Stop talking about it. So Emily, before I let you go, what are you reading, sharing? What have you been watching? How is the summer going?
So I'm actually reading Stranger in the Lake by Kimberly Bell at the moment.
Mhm.
I may have gotten an advance copy, so I'm loving it. We discussed, I recently read Big Summer by Jennifer Weiner, which I loved. I always read Liz Fenton and Lisa Steineke's books, Allison Wynne Scotch, Brenda Janowitz, and I'm trying to find the time.
That is the tricky thing. I always think that's the ultimate irony. And whenever I'd go into New York and meet with publishers and have all these powwows, which we love, that would be the thing. Like, what are you reading? And usually what they're working on is the answer. And then on top of that, what you want to be reading. And
exactly. I have a stack of books I want to be reading on my desk.
There's so many great books.
Many great books. I'm sure you can relate to that.
You know what? It sounded familiar.
Yeah, exactly.
And I need to like recommit myself to, I just keep starting more projects. There's something that's just so energizing about this time, and having other things not happening, so leaving more room.
Yeah.
Also remembering we still need to take some time to just do the things I love to do. And one of which, like, I was outside yesterday. It was the first day my house was empty of people and pet.
Oh wow.
I'm
jealous.
It was bizarre. First time in 3, I don't want it all the time, but it was the first time in 3 months. And I was outside with a book. I was reading Nancy's book before we were chatting, and I was like, this is so nice. And maybe it was 15 minutes, but it was such a nice 15.
Sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah, and then you just, I get in a groove, and then all I want to do is read, which is not a bad thing. But anyway, more on the book, but we don't have so much time. We don't have that much time. Listen to me not be able to speak. We don't have so much time here on a Monday days. But I can't stress enough that this is one book that you do not, because also, and it goes way too fast. Not way too fast, but
that's great. That's the ultimate compliment.
Because you want to know. You had to know. I had to know where these women were going to intersect. What was
so nice. Thank you.
Yeah, the inspiration for being such a fan of this writer. How? Okay, not going to give away, because it's absolutely possible that I might say the wrong thing here.
Right. Don't give away. There's some big twists and turns.
Yes, and it's Emily Liebert's Perfectly Famous, and go to emilyliebert.com. Find her on Instagram, in her underwear, on Twitter. I don't know, in her underwear, and on Facebook, and like the Facebook page, and check out events. Do you have more virtual events happening throughout?
I do. I have a lot of virtual events. I will be back on Facebook Live later today with Jane Green and Amy Popel.
Oh, nice.
And then I will be on Instagram Live tonight with Real Housewives of New Jersey's Margaret Josephs.
Oh, how fun. Wait, so what time is Jane and Amy?
Jane and Amy are 5 on Facebook Live, and Margaret Josephs is 6 on Instagram Live.
Okay. And which page at 5 o'clock? Which Facebook page?
Oh, on author Jane Green.
Okay, so go to author Jane Green at 5 o'clock. So Amy Popel, Musical Chairs, comes out in July, and Emily Liebert, Perfectly Famous, and Jane. Oh my goodness! And I'm interviewing Jane tomorrow at 5 for the Friends We Keep paperback version.
Oh, fun!
Yes, and then you'll be on Instagram at 6 o'clock. Well,
with Margaret Josephs at the Real Margaret Josephs.
oh, cool. And it'll pop up. So if you're following Emily on Instagram, when people go live, you'll just see the little circle and you'll go like, oh my God, what's Emily Liebert up to?
Nice.
There she is with Margaret
Talking
Josephs.
about Real Housewives, my book, all that fun stuff.